Hello and welcome to the Plant-Based Revolution podcast with your host, myself, Neil Damerel from My Lifestyle Coach. In today's episode, it's just going to be a brief, short episode where I'm just going to discuss the topic of high blood pressure. I've been sort of speaking to a lot of people recently with high blood pressure, and it still amazes me how everybody focuses on why their medication is not working and why they keep changing the medication or the side effects they're worried about the medication that they're on. So I wanted to kind of clarify how you can lower your blood pressure, especially through adopting more of a plant-based lifestyle. And simple change in your lifestyle can help you come off your medication and potentially reduce those side effects that you may be experiencing if you are experiencing any side effects from your blood pressure medication. Now, blood pressure is a big issue. A lot of people suffer with high blood pressure. A lot of variables can affect your blood pressure, your environment, stress, etc., lack of sleep. So depending on when you take your blood pressure, take it as a point in time and try and analyse it over the course of a 24-hour period. If you find that your blood pressure is a little bit high during that measurement. I measure blood pressure on a daily basis with all my clients, and it does vary minute to minute, so it's important to have a perspective on the blood pressure measurement as opposed to taking it as gospel as a first and sort of getting stressed or panicked by a high reading if you do experience one. Just go to a relaxed environment, get it measured again, and if it's still high, then visit your GP to get it looked at further. In terms of blood pressure, what you'd be aiming for, first of all, would be a blood pressure lower than 140/90. So the top number, 140, is systolic. That is the blood pressure when the heart is contracting, pumping blood to the rest of the body. And your bottom number, diastolic, is when the heart is relaxing and the blood's going back to the heart. So less than 140/90 is what we're looking for. Ideally would be less than 129/84, which would be in the sort of normal ranges. If you're sort of above that, between 130 and 140, and between 85 and 90, that's in sort of normal to high levels. So, and anything above that, you're going in and then into sort of the mild hypertension, moderate hypertension, or severe hypertension. If that is the case, so anything above 150 or 140 to 150, 59 would be into sort of the mild, moderate, and above 160 going into your severe hypertension as well. So it's something definitely to keep an eye on, and if you've had experience with blood pressure or high blood pressure in the past, then I'd love to hear your thoughts, your stories, and because it is a silent killer, and it's something that we do have to really, really address, especially in the Western world. So, I'm just going to touch on today, just a brief history, obviously, what blood pressure is. But what we want to do is look at how you can improve and reduce your blood pressure. So simple steps to begin with would be reduce the amount of salt in your diet. This is important because the increase in salt raises the amount of sodium in the bloodstream, and this can have a balance, a delicate balance in terms of the ability for your kidneys to remove water. So if this is happening, then obviously your blood pressure is going to increase if the kidneys can't remove as much water as they would like to. So if you are consuming a lot of salt during your meals, whether that's added salt when cooking or added salt after cooking, also be mindful of how much salt you have that are hidden. So ready meals, takeaways, restaurant food, generally high in salt because they're all designed to be built for flavour and taste. So they are a lot of hidden salts in there that you wouldn't necessarily be aware of. So as much as you can, try and avoid salt altogether. When you're cooking, probably go for more herbs and spices as a flavour alternative rather than salt. Don't really want to have more than 6 grams of salt a day, which is only a teaspoon of salt collectively throughout your day. So if you can look at the ingredients on your foods, see what kind of salt is in there, and obviously you go for the low sodium foods, you're going to be helping to remove as much salt from your diet as possible. Another culprit for high blood pressure will be alcohol, so making sure if you are drinking excessively or have been drinking quite regularly, maybe look to cut down on your alcohol consumption as well. If someone's overweight, that can also affect your blood pressure, so maintaining a healthy weight is vitally important. Also, exercise regularly, whether that's just walking to begin with. Try and walk to get your heart rate elevated. That is very, very important to help keep the blood flow pumping around the body efficiently, and also helps remove water from the kidneys as well, keep things nice and fresh. Also cut down on your caffeine, so if you do drink quite a lot of caffeine, that can elevate your blood pressure by drinking a lot of caffeine. Caffeine is a stimulant, so it can increase your resting heart rate and increase your blood pressure if you are relying on your caffeine fix a lot throughout the day. Smoking obviously is a major contributor to high blood pressure, so if you do smoke, then you'll be doing it yourself a really good service by cutting down and giving up smoking altogether. And try and get at least 6 hours a night when you're going to sleep as well. So if you're fully rested, you're not going to feel tired, because sometimes if you're tired, your blood pressure can be slightly elevated just because your body's not fully rested. Sleep is slightly important for our bodies to regenerate and recover. That's when we regenerate our cells. That's when we grow. So if you are training, think of a young baby, that's when their brain develops. So it's when us as humans and as adults develop during the night, so we can take on board everything we've learned the day before, process it, and then the next day we're good to go. So a good night's rest is vitally important as well. So I've just touched on there how, just giving you an overview of blood pressure, what it means, and simple lifestyle changes that can affect and improve your blood pressure. So I wanted to kind of touch on mainly the benefits of a plant-based diet on your blood pressure, and if I'm just going to sort of discuss the role of potassium and how potassium can affect your blood pressure, and also how this can improve your blood pressure by consuming diet rich in potassium foods. So not increasing your potassium intake through medication, but increasing your diet with foods that contain high amounts of potassium, and that can lead to a lower and help lower your blood pressure. So if we talk about potassium first of all, potassium is a key mineral that the body relies on heavily. It helps to function properly, and it can help to lower your blood pressure by balancing out the negative side effects of salt. So as I said before, if you have a high amount of salt, it's can affect your blood pressure. So are you counteracting that with the increases in potassium in your diet? If you're not, then obviously there's something that you need to pay attention to. So if you think about your kidneys, so your kidneys can help control your blood pressure, and they do that by controlling the amount of fluid stored in the body. And the more fluid, the higher your blood pressure is potentially going to be. So if your kidneys do this by filtering out the blood and sucking out any extra fluid which potentially which is stored in your bladder as urine. Okay. So in this process, It uses a delicate balance of sodium and potassium to pull the water across the cell walls from the bloodstream into the collecting channels that lead to the bladder. So if you're consuming high amounts of salt, this will raise the amount of sodium in the bloodstream, and then in effect wreck that balance and reducing the kidney's ability to remove the water. So what we need to focus on is consuming more fruits and vegetables, which will increase your potassium levels and then help restore this delicate balance. So this will help the kidneys work more efficiently and help lower your blood pressure back to a healthy level. However, you don't have too much of a good thing, so focusing on more of natural sources of potassium that are fruits and vegetables, sources rich in potassium, as opposed to over consuming potassium supplements because too much potassium can wreck this balance, and you can sort of potentially overdose from potassium. So I would say avoid potassium supplements and focus on a diet rich in fruits and vegetables. But let me hear you say what fruits and vegetables would be the best to consume. So I'm just going to give you a good list of the fruits and vegetables that you'd want to focus on to increase your potassium intake in your diet. And I said naturally as well, you want to make sure you're consuming just a good plant-based diet rich in fruits and vegetables, as opposed to, again, looking for a supplement. Remember, supplements, medication, all it does is mask the symptom, doesn't treat the root cause of the problem. So if we can focus on the root cause of the problem, you're going to be a lot healthier and fitter and reduce your blood pressure naturally, as opposed to just masking another symptom and not changing the root cause of it. So you keep masking things, the cracks are going to appear eventually. So what are the foods I would recommend to consume that are high in potassium? So what we're looking for in terms of how much potassium you want to consume per day, you want to look to try and get around 4,700 milligrams of potassium per day. So I'm just going to give you a list of fruits and vegetables that contain high amounts of potassium and roughly how much per cup of potassium they contain, roughly per serving. So anything to start with would be any tomato product. So think about if you have a chili, make it a bean chili with a load of tomato puree, fresh tomatoes, sun-dried tomatoes, amazing. 1 cup of any tomato product will contain 2,657 milligrams of potassium. So it's pretty much half of your daily intake just in tomatoes, which is amazing. Another one, pak choy, really good vegetable that you can use in stir fries. One of those contain 1 cup is about 600 milligrams, so perfect choice to add into your diet there. Think about raisins, figs. 1 cup will contain about 1,000 milligrams. So figs are lovely in the summer. Raisins, maybe sprinkle those onto your porridge in the morning for breakfast or in any other cereal if you're having some muesli, for example. Mango, one of my favourite fruits. I love a mango. When it's perfectly ripe, it's so delicious. I don't know if you enjoy mango as much as me, but yeah, mango is probably one of my favourite fruits. So 1 mango will contain 500 milligrams, so a lovely source of potassium there. Brussel sprouts, so we tend to consume them mainly over the festive period. Generally a period of time as well when you're going to consume quite a lot of rich foods, high fat foods, high foods in salt. If you're having a few roast dinners, so getting those Brussels sprouts in, even if you don't like them that much, try and look at different ways, maybe roast them. It's a good way of flavouring up the Brussels sprouts, as to having them boiled, and they don't really taste that pleasant when they're boiled. But yeah, 1 cup will contain 495 milligrams of potassium. So make sure you get loads of those on your plate during the festive period. Absolutely. If you go for a winter squash, so anything like pumpkin, butternut squash is lovely, really good. Put that in the oven and roast that up. Just 1 cup of squash will contain about 500 milligrams of potassium, so perfect. A banana, this is a staple in my diet. I must have a banana every day. I always have one with my porridge in the morning, or it's an easy go-to snack on the go. And just 1 banana will contain 400 milligrams of potassium. 2 of those a day, 800. You're well on your way to your 5,000 milligrams of potassium a day. So amazing. Another great source is sweet potato. Sweet potato is lovely. One of my favourites as well. Just one small sort of medium sweet potato will contain about 400 milligrams. Another great source is your lentils. And this is a great source of protein and fibre as well. So it's essential to get as much fibre in your diet as you can. We're lacking in that as well. So replace lentils. You can add into like it's great for a lentil curry, or you can have like lentils within, instead of having the beef, use lentils as a nice beef replacement. This is they're quite filling, and also quite meaty in texture. If you add it in, as you would do if you're having like a cottage pie, make a lentil cottage pie. That's always much healthier, and for me just as tasty. They contain about 300 milligrams. And then finally, kale. So 1 cup of kale will contain about 300 to 400 milligrams of potassium. So as you can see, there's a great source there of products, fruits and vegetables that will contain high amounts of potassium, and I think you can add those in quite easily on a daily basis. Add them into your other meals, and if you sort of increase those food sources, you're going to help definitely lower and reduce the impact of any salt you may have in your diet, which you might get hidden salts if you are out and about, eating out or on the go. And just be mindful of how much salt you do have in your diet on a daily basis as well, and make sure you're drinking plenty of water as well. Keep the kidneys healthy by consuming plenty of fluids as well. So hopefully that information has been helpful for you. I know blood pressure is a big issue for a lot of people. I speak to people on a daily basis regarding high blood pressure, so it can be a worrying topic. So just focus on simple lifestyle changes, focus on the root cause of the problem, increase the amount of potassium in your diet through plenty of fruits and vegetables. And if you like any more information, I'll put some information in the show notes regarding that list that I discussed. And if you do have any questions, I would love to hear from you, and also I might be able to give you a shout out on the next episode. So feel free to pop over to iTunes, leave us a review. I'd love to know who's listening, get any feedback, and also any topics you want me to cover that you might be struggling with in terms of following more of a plant-based diet, and how that maybe can affect your health in terms of if you've got high cholesterol, high blood pressure, etc. I would love to hear how you guys are getting on listening to the show, and any feedback would be greatly appreciated. But until next time, I'll see you again on the next episode.
The podcast you just heard was recorded with Anchor. If you want to make your own, download the Android or iOS app completely free from anchor.fm/podcast. That's anchor.fm/podcast.